song. We out here, yeah, speeding the facts.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hair of the Dog. I am Andy Kennedy, and it is Friday. Yes, you made it. Congratulations. We are still sitting in the craziness of the year 2020. And just when you thought things couldn't get any stranger, we have another week. That's about all I'm going to talk about at that point, because we've got some unfinished business to do, and that includes introductions. Kerri Barber, how are you this morning?
I'm good. That was kind of. Are you okay? Are you awake? I am heavily caffeinated and ready to go. So, the whole idea behind today's show, if you saw our show on Wednesday, which was very heartfelt, and it was actually very hard to do. Andy and I talked about it afterwards, and um, it was a difficult show because the reality just kind of set in. And I spoke to Darnell, who was on our show last week, and he was trying to pick me up, and he made some comments about, hey, this is what I do. It's part of what I love about being a comedian. It's my opportunity to speak to people and to make sure that everybody's having a good time, that you just the whole gamut. So I'm like, all right, you know what? And he reminded me that there's always a silver lining around everything. So the whole point of today's show is we're going to treat it like a little boot camp, right? So you train your brain the way that you want it to go. So if you are, into fascism and a neo-Nazi, and you're consuming all of that hate, that is what you're going to project. If, like on our show, we try to teach you critical thinking, right? So whether you realize it or not, even though we're a little snarky sometimes, we are teaching you how to train yourself into critical thinking, to question things, find the answers, things like that. But today, we're bringing on our expert. Darnell is going to be back with us in just a few minutes, and he is going to help all of us take some of these headlines and train ourselves to see the silver lining, see the positive, not necessarily go outside of reality, but help us to have that self-care and make sure that we don't fall so far low that we can't pick ourselves back up. So I think this is a really good boot camp for a Friday. Everybody get ready. Your trainer is going to walk us through all of this. And here's the kicker. He has no idea what we're going to talk about. I pulled some headlines from the last few days, from the last week. Some of them are pretty intense. Some are a little quirky, and some are just downright funny. So he has no idea what we're going to talk about. So it's a little bit of an improv for him and a good exercise for us. So while we're going through this is totally interactive. We will see your comments if you put them on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, Periscope. We're streaming to all of those channels live. So make sure you put your comments in, and let's see how funny you can be with all of this that's going on today. So before we get started, there are some serious things that I do want to cover. And this is going back to that critical thinking. As you see the headlines and things start to come out, I want you to remember this particular conversation this morning. So this morning, we're going to talk about China. Andy, can you put up that graphic for me, please? So this is what's going on with China. And as we're starting to see the headlines come out about Hunter Biden, this is why it's important, right? So let's go back a couple weeks ago. We had the news headlines come out, particularly in Southern California, of a Chinese operative, a spook. This is somebody who is trained by the Chinese government with a specific purpose. And she was here. She was in her late 20s, early 30s, but passed for much, much younger, like a student. She, I believe, was at Berkeley University. I'm not sure, but I'll post the link to that article. But her name was Fang Fang, and she was here for one sole purpose, and that was to get close to rising politicians, either people who were already in office or who were running for office. So we saw her tied to many high-profile campaigns. We saw her out there as an activist and working for campaigns, raising funds, things like this. So it's come out that when she caught attention because the I believe it was the FBI was looking at another Chinese operative, and her paths crossed, so that they caught their attention. And they started to investigate her, and when they got wind of it, the Chinese government, they pulled her home. So what we know now is she was working for Eric Swalwell's campaign, Tulsi Gabbard, and she actually had 2 affairs with Midwestern mayors. They didn't say who. They're protecting these mayors, so we've got to assume that these 2 mayors are married. But mayors of which cities? Was it mayor of Chicago? Was it mayor of Cincinnati? Was it Pittsburgh? We don't know. But the whole point of sending somebody to get close to a politician is for influence, maybe some inside information, or loose lips sink ships. But this is what they were doing with this particular operative, Fang Fang. Now, why is this important? Well, the US does this in other countries. Other countries do it to the US, but here are some prime examples of why it matters. Headline came out, I believe it was Thursday or Friday last week, and this one was totally under the radar, but there was a planned purchase of a Chinese company for an infertility clinic. And this same task force within our government who was looking at Fang Fang also helped stop the purchase of this fertility clinic, because they said that this particular clinic served military families, and all of the data would have then been transferred over to the Chinese government. So think about that. We've long had this kind of running joke that anytime you have a military base, and it doesn't matter what kind of military base, you have a ton of Chinese restaurants around it. Some of those are legitimate, some of them aren't. So I'm not trying to say don't go to a Chinese restaurant, but these are things that you look at from a security standpoint. And here you have the Chinese government actually behind the purchase of a fertility clinic just to get those records. So this is why security clearances are so important, that background check and have you been compromised. So if you remember early on in the Trump administration, there was questions about him being compromised by Russia. Remember the P tapes that never surfaced? So the whole thing behind those allegations was that he was already compromised. And then as things moved forward, we saw members of his own family who were unable to get a security clearance because they had violated something, or they had ties to questionable relationships that financial or otherwise, that precluded them, that made them a security risk. Okay, so that matters now because we have Hunter Biden, who is being investigated, not just for taxes, but for everything that he did. Remember, he was in China, and maybe you've seen the video of him in the bathtub with the crack pipe and the foot fetish, but that happened in China. So all of those things go into security and security clearance. So the question now becomes, is Hunter Biden a risk to the security because of his proximity and familiar relations to the incoming administration? So these things are pretty serious questions, and we've got to take a look at them. We didn't do enough under the Trump administration. Hopefully we'll do enough under the Biden administration to limit some of those things. But this is, you or I going for a security clearance job, we would have to pass a high level on how we handle our affairs. You can't be an alcoholic. You can't be a drug addict. You can't have too much personal debt. You've got to be stable and rather boring. And they do talk to your neighbors, your friends, your family before they even issue a security clearance. And this is the reason why. So we can see that there are people in other foreign governments who are here to keep an eye on what we're doing, maybe get some inside information, whether it's business espionage or government policy espionage. these things happen, and they happen all the time. So I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, particularly as more information comes out about Hunter Biden and his dealings in China, and apparently some allegations of money laundering. So all very important stuff. So
I find it very interesting that we've already witnessed Biden basically trying to shift the narrative from Russia being the arch enemy of the United States to China, right? And why is that significant? Well, if you're involved in China with Chinese dealings, right? It's important a lot of times in politics to have a viable escape route to fight allegations of these types that you're talking about. If you can kind of pseudo control the narrative and, you know, make China the bad guy and say, oh, don't believe anything they say, nothing to see here, they're our arch enemy, we didn't do anything, they're just being China, right?
yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. And this is why, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. I mean, there is no better espionage group in the world than Israel. And part of that came about because of the origins of their country. Everybody hated them, and the birth of their nation was, prompted a war where everybody wanted them gone. So of course they have this very sophisticated espionage apparatus. And a lot of times what happens behind the scenes with State Department, things like this, is our allies, our friends, even our frenemies will pass along information that they have learned that might be material to our particular goals and focus. And it's this trade that's going on behind the scenes. So all the countries are doing it, and when we tend to be a little more direct in our regime change wars. We physically go into a country and try to prop up the person that we want. Other countries, sometimes, like Russia, spent $3,000 on Facebook ads, which apparently was enough. So these are things that people need to be aware of. It happens all the time. And especially if you're in a campaign, you're a candidate, you need to do a little bit of vetting and really be cautious about what you say. You don't want to express ideas or information that can be used against you. And you certainly don't want to be too loose with information that you learn once you get elected into office. So, so for all of you rising candidates out there, keep that in mind. So those,
it used to be very simple to control the narrative of regime change style wars that the U.S. initiated, right? Before social media, you could always. It was so much easier to make that country the bad guy in the conflict, right? But now that we have information systems that can disseminate information quickly in an unfettered way between like groups like ours and anybody that considers themselves progressives or on the left. And so that narrative isn't nearly as easy to control as it was, right? That's a sign of the times.
Yeah, absolutely. Information's at our fingertips to a point. This is the other thing that we're kind of keeping an eye on with the Biden administration. He's got a lot of people in his ear that are leaning towards censorship, particularly in social media, because you don't want the unwashed masses getting a little bit too crazy. So they're already having those conversations, and what you'll see on a political level is they call it floating the balloon, right? So take Neera Tanden, for example, where they floated the balloon, this whole idea to see if it would be okay with us if she was appointed to a cabinet position. So they just kind of let the headline go and see what happens, see what the reaction is. And our response to that balloon that they floated lets them know. It's like a giant focus group. So,
Are you trying to suggest that Neera Tanden wasn't a popular choice?
she was so not a popular choice. And so here's where we were successful. Here's the silver lining in that story. When Rahm Emanuel was floated, we know he's on the transition team, but they serve on the transition team with the expectation of a job afterwards, generally a cabinet position. So when Rahm Emanuel was floated, they floated the balloon out and we all went, hell, fuck no. Rahm was put back in the closet. And then the same thing has happened with Neera Tanden. She was put back in the closet. The very nice lady who was floated out there for Department of Defense, she's back in the closet. So it's a giant focus group. When you start to see these headlines kind of slowly trickle out, that's exactly what they're doing. They want to see what our response is. So.
Sure, and it's a much easier way of getting the candidates that you really want in, right? Like if you say, okay, look, this is who we're thinking about, and that person is at the extreme that they know is going to elicit a horrible response from most people, right? Well, the next person that you put up as your next choice is obviously going to look better, right? You're not looking at a perspective of, is that person going to be good at that job, as opposed to, is that person going to better than the person that we just suggested, right? And so that's another way of controlling that narrative. And people say, well, at least she's no Neera Tanden, right? Which really isn't a viable job description or critique of someone's that person would be good at that job. It's just that they're better than Neera. Right.
That's true, right? The lesser evil always. But this is a good thing to keep in mind, especially when you see neoliberals out there on social media saying, now is not the time and we need unity and give Biden a chance. No, now is the time to voice your opinion, because I'm telling you, when they float these things out there from a communication standpoint, they're looking for your reaction. And if you are not loud and talking about these things, then they're just not going to hear it. Because I guarantee you that there's a communication manager and an entire team of people who is monitoring what we say and our collective reaction to these things, and kind of cataloging it, going through the algorithms and actually saying, okay, well, this is going to be super unpopular. How do we move forward anyway? Or maybe we change it. So yes, anybody who's saying now's not the time is lying to you. So your silver lining is you do still have power. You do still have influence, even though you might not recognize it. So keep talking, right? So, all right. So I am going to stop talking and I am going to bring on our guest, who is a delight, a ray of sunshine, not quite on the Zsa Zsa Gilmore motherfucking ray of sunshine, but in a different, more professional way. So, all right, everybody, get ready. Boot camp has started, and we are totally going to go into full-on comedy mode and how you can find peace and joy and happiness no matter what the headlines are. So, without further ado, let's bring on our special guest, comedian Darnell Williams. Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning, sunshine.
Only today.
Yes,
Only
from
today.
the Sunshine State, no less.
No, yeah. He's in Florida now, so you are totally repping the Sunshine State. So,
yes, and he's warm. And I haven't experienced that since September.
Nice. So awesome. Well, welcome and thank you so much for coming back and joining us. We didn't scare you off the first time, so this is awesome that you're coming back.
Blessings. Y'all ain't doing nothing but giving me blessings.
See, he started already. All right. So what I thought we would do today, and forgive me for looking down, but I got to read, and I'm getting old. So what I told Darnell I was going to do was pull some headlines, like curate a couple headlines, And he has no idea what I'm going to bring up today. And I told him I'd give him the headlines and a synopsis of the story, and he is going to walk us through how to find your joy, find your happiness in all of this. And if that includes making fun of the story, the situation, whatever, we're going to test his skills here and see how it goes. So this is not just for Darnell, this is for everybody watching too. Let's test your skills. How snarky, how funny can you be? And weigh in on the comments if you come up with something you think is just pure gold, and we'll share it with everyone else here. So, all right, Darnell, you ready?
Yes, yes.
All right. So let's go with the first one. All right. All across the country now, we have every state as of the 8th of December had to certify their electoral results. Every state has done that. However, there is a Texas Attorney General who has decided he doesn't like what the states are doing. He doesn't like how the people voted in the states, and he certainly doesn't like the election outcome. So he has filed a lawsuit against 17 states to nullify the votes of those states. He doesn't live there, but he's going into those states saying, no. You don't get to have your outcome or your vote certified the way that you said. I am going to overturn that. So this is the case that is going to go up before the Supreme Court. However, here's the headline. The Attorney General was just delivered a subpoena. He is under federal investigation. So now the question is, Attorney General Ken Paxton, 3 sources confirmed, the seriousness of the allegations against him are 20 years to life if he is convicted on these charges that have been brought up to him. So here's the situation, Darnell. We have this team, a small team led by the Texas Attorney General, who is trying to overturn the entire election nationwide. And then we come to find out he's got federal charges pending against him for fraud and a number of other transactions. So, Darnell, where's the funny?
First of all, I'm gonna tell you something that my grandfather and my father told me, even though I ain't talked to him as much. But don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house. And you'd be so surprised how so many people complain about somebody else, and then you just ruffle the feathers just a little bit, and you be like, how you talking about stuff and you got your own problems? I think that's the craziest thing about life. Example, I'm gonna say something. Example, you ever see how people talk about I brought it up last week, R. Kelly, about messing with young girls, and then you look in the picture and then you see him in the picture with a young girl, you be like, how did you throw a rock?
That's exactly. Well, we keep seeing that over and over again. If you have a politician who is so out there against like homosexuality or whatever, we're gonna find them with a ball gag, right?
It's the same guy. Same guy. I don't like gay this and whatever, homophobic slurs. I'm sorry about using the word gay, but you know what I'm saying? The homophobic slurs, and they say those things. And then a week later, he in a hotel.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Usually crossing state lines to meet up with a minor or something.
Yeah, so that comes down to it.
Isn't it interesting that as an AG, you would try to overturn an election? Well, why is that significant? Well, if successful, then you are putting a friendly president in the White House that then has the ability to pardon you.
Exactly. You just got to watch it. Everything in life is chess. You got to look 3 steps ahead. So when somebody says something, you got to say why. You ever seen the movie JFK? When he was sitting on a bench, he said, well, who's going to make the most out of killing the president? Why would they kill the president? And for what? And that's what you got to do every time somebody says something.
If AG Paxton isn't successful in getting the election overturned, then my boy's going to have to go out and get a pair of golf shoes. You know why? because when he drops the soap in the prison, using them shoes to pick that soap up. So it's one place you don't want to bend over.
This is very popular. Okay, all right. So I thought that was going to be a hard one, but no, between Darnell and Andy. Okay, good one. All right. How did you do at home? Did you find the funny in this? That one I think is a little obvious, but all right. So let's go on to our next one. This one, at first I thought it was funny, but then now it's kind of a little sad. So, all right, Darnell, help me out with this one. So it came out this week, and this was reported in Newsweek. You can follow along on the links I posted. But a German magazine, Der Spiegel, delivered a withering assessment of President Donald Trump's 2020 presidency in a headline naming him the loser of the year. So that's gotta hurt. When an entire country, not necessarily an entire country, but one of the most popular magazines in the entire country in Germany says you're the biggest loser, which I think was a clever play on his, you're fired.
You're fired, yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest loser. So with this particular headline, right. So it was easy to go back to his TV career, his reality host career, which was all fake. But your take on this, how's the president going to take this? Where's the funny in this? Is this Schadenfreude, to borrow another German phrase? Can we revel in this, or maybe not?
Well, you think about me, the silver lining of the situation is he doing real estate, right? So a lot of times he had to throw people out. This man done lost his job and he don't want to get out the house. Now, ain't that some good Mark Blue stuff? You know what I mean? People out and he don't want to get out. So back to that about being a loser, how he fired so many people. Now he's fired. So it's just like, life is a circle. And, sometimes you forget about the things you say and you do. There's going to be consequences and it goes right back to you. So just listen to all the people. He said, you're fired. And we all get the dead right back to you. Yeah. You're fired.
You imagine the sheriff that has to go to the White House to do that eviction.
Stop, Andy.
That poor bastard. I don't see a career move for him anytime soon.
Yeah. You ain't got to go home.
The other thing I can see is a tweet soon coming out from Trump on Twitter, right? That says something like, fake news. How can anybody take a country seriously that's leader is a 2 at best?
I want to see him tweeting that from the back of a U-Haul, though. I mean, just
or a paddy wagon,
right?
Or a paddy wagon, because that's going to wind up happening. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And what's funny is we have all this question about, can he pardon himself? He's pardoning all these people. He's got drive-through pardons going on through the White House right now. However, Deutsche Bank, and Andy and I have covered it, Deutsche Bank has turned over all their information. That's international. That's personal. They're coming. They're absolutely coming. So
even the most thing that's coming is the taxes. He allowed his taxes finally to come out. That's going to be the biggest comeback for him all the time. $750,000 he paying a year or something. Or $750. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, $750, more than we pay out of 2 paychecks in a month. That's about it. That's all he paid. So
yeah. That's going to be a reckoning.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a testament to our tax system. And I saw this funny meme about it, where in the rest of the world, the country sends you a bill. Here's what you owe for your taxes. In the U.S., we don't tell you what you owe. You have to figure it out. And if you figure it out wrong, you're going to jail. And if you maybe figure it out wrong in the favor of the government, they're not going to tell you either. It's just the whole way that we do our taxes here is just crazy. You are responsible for figuring out how much you owe someone. Can you imagine? All right, Darnell, you lend me money And then it comes time for me to pay you back, and you won't tell me how much I owe. But if I get it wrong,
You go to
either
jail.
I'm out money or, maybe I lose a couple kneecaps here. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you only got two.
Yeah. 2 years to back up. Well,
And they
Right.
don't grow back.
No, they don't. No, and let me tell you. Okay. All right. So that was another one that was apparently pretty easy. Here's one that I think hits a little bit closer to home for those of us, the unwashed masses. This is a story that came out of Portland. Portland is really showing us how to do things. And on Wednesday, we talked about sticking together. Here's Portland. Okay. So here's the headline. Portland protesters occupy street in a bid to stop eviction of a family of color. So if you missed this story, it's called the Red House. It's a red brick house. This is a house owned generationally by this family in Portland. And what happened was, which anybody who has had a house with a mortgage or whatever, that mortgage was sold to another company and it was transferred multiple times. And the servicer to the mortgage was not clear. And there was just a whole lot of confusion. So this family was like, wait, who do we pay? And they didn't want to get scammed. So they withheld their payments and were trying to work something out with the person they thought was the mortgage holder. It turned out that what they were actually doing behind the scenes was making it allegedly purposely confusing for this family in order to repossess the house, because it's a red brick house. If you've ever been house shopping, you want a brick house, and it was in a really nice neighborhood that has been gentrified. So of course, this is an asset for the bank. Let's sweep it up just real quick on a repo and then turn around and resell it. So this family was fighting back, but we know that unless you've got $60,000 to $200,000 on hand, it's really hard to fight in court to get your day. So they were trying to represent themselves, trying to fight for themselves. And there are so many procedure things that go on in court. They were just getting rings run around them. So what happened is the people in Portland said, this is not okay. These people were wronged and they need some justice and they need some help. So when the police came in, the sheriff, Andy, came in with the squad cars, people stopped them and pushed them back. I've never seen anything like it in the last decade. I've never seen anything like it. But throughout history, we have. My favorite example, it was a family farm. It's been in the family for generations. And the son had planned to inherit the farm, but the uncle sold it to other investors. And it was that other investor was putting it up for auction. So what happened? The entire town came out for this prime real estate. I forget how many acres for this farm. And when the auctioneer opened the bid for the farm, the father and the son were there in the front row, and they had pooled their resources trying to come up with a bid that was going to be competitive. And they put in the first bid. And the hundreds of farmers surrounding them, also at the auction, silent, to the point where the auctioneer had to close it on the opening bid for the father and the son. This was not coordinated. This was just the community going, no, this should never have happened. It should go back to this family farm. So we would celebrate an example like that with the farmers and to hold that up as a good thing. Are we doing the same thing in Portland with this neighborhood? So that was a really, really long opener. Darnell, what are your thoughts on people power and what's going on in Portland, and then mass evictions that we got coming up?
Oh, it's gonna be a whole lot of evictions going on. But I tell you this, the most beautiful thing about our country is, and not even say our country, the world, is when you let somebody know your story. Just the point that I'm on this show, you know why I'm on this show? Because I told my story to Miss Kerri. Miss Kerri told my story to Andy. And that's what this was all about. So when somebody know your story, they can make a proper judgment. Communication goes a long way. And I think that's what's wrong with half of the people in the world. Like if you tell somebody a story, you never know who's listening. So somebody told somebody the story, and somebody else told the story, and then the 5 became 10, and then we created the wall, a wall of justice. When I tell people justice is blind, I believe that money. When I say, a lot of people go to jail because they don't have the proper money. It ain't the point that they're guilty or not guilty. It's because they don't have the proper resources. So when you get the resources, and sometimes the resources people, and your money can buy people and bring people in. So when you got the proper resources, you can do anything. So I think a lot of us don't communicate. Like we having this session right here, you wouldn't even know the things that I go through unless you ask me those things. And it's the same thing with Kerri, because she only knows what's going on in her household, and her household could be her generation or finances, whatever the case may be. But it's just that, communication go a long way. I think we communicate again. What we can accomplish is unbelievable. Just me and Andy had a conversation. It's just unbelievable when somebody talks.
Okay, all right. So this is very telling. You're right. We don't communicate enough. It's not sincere. We don't have that sense of community, but we can build it here. And I think you have such a valid point with that. So I do want to get to a couple comments that came in, and this is from Mike, who's watching, and he posted a comment about Trump and his Biggest Loser, and he says, "I'm the best loser. Everyone says it. Nobody loses better than me."
Exactly.
So, Mike, great comment. Love that.
Great comment.
And then comment on this story about the Red House in Portland about sense of community. He brings up a really good point. He says people getting together to stop evictions is jury nullification taken to its best conclusion. Excellent point, Mike. So jury nullification. We are the jury. We are the peers of this person that is being evicted, right? And especially now during this global pandemic, we used to read about stuff like this in the history books, the plague, the Spanish flu. Now we are living in it. Right. So things have got to change. We've got to treat it just a little bit differently. So this is not a standard eviction. This is, wait a second, if you throw these people out of their house, not only is it an injustice for them, but it's an injustice and a risk for all. Yes. So
yes, and it's so important for a brick house because it's mighty.
Yes.
That was good. That was good.
Sheriff in the car, as they were backing up away from the protesters, this note to self: next time we'll take the Bradley fighting vehicle.
Yeah. Right, which they have now. So, all right. So, Darnell, I want to go through a little bit of this communication and community a little bit, since we are doing this retraining our brains boot camp. How do we do it? I mean, I don't want to go up to somebody at a bus stop and just say, "Hey, here's what's going on with me," right? So,
but you know what? You said that, but that's what. Listen, I'll tell you. We was just talking about how you just went in the bathroom and you found 3 friends. That's exactly what you do. You go in that bathroom.
Wait. We gotta put context behind that. Everyone's going, "What friends did she find?" So okay. So I was telling Darnell that I am an introvert. I'm an extrovert. My husband's an introvert, and he used to laugh when we would go places like to a nightclub or a restaurant or whatever, and I go into the public restroom, not my personal restroom, and find 3 friends there. So.
I'm always like that. Let me tell you, I tell my son this. He goes to school and he always, I'd be like, "Yo, you don't got enough friends." I'm like, listen, if I was in his high school, half of the school would know me because who I am. That's just who I am. And I think that's what it is. A lot of people, you want to tell you something? Right now we talking, right? How many times you talk to somebody and you look at the floor or you look at something else? Look somebody in the eyes and ask them a question, and you see how much their face light up. I'm looking at you through the camera, and when I'm catching your eyes through the camera, and you want to tell me something, and I think that's what a lot of people we lost that, and we got to get that back fast.
Well, a lot of this is because we can't have that human interaction right now, and we have found that we so crave it. We cannot be islands. We cannot. I mean, I kind of like being at home. I'm good with it. But you're right. If I didn't have the work that I do through DLF with Andy on this show, meeting people like you, it'd be a very different
Dark
outlook and
place.
perspective. Yeah.
Dark, yeah. Because I'm telling you, I got to get me some white friends. You don't understand what I just told you. I said, as soon as I get a chance to go to Canada, I'm going to Andy's house and say, Andy, could you make me a turkey burger?
Okay, but I'm thinking that it might have to be next Christmas, because this Christmas we're gonna have turkey burgers, but it's gonna be too close to this after this.
Corona stuff. Yeah, we got to wait till the vaccine come out. When the vaccine come out,
that's right.
Then it's turducken for everybody. So yeah.
Tell me something. I want to ask y'all a story. What is you taking the vaccine, or are you taking the vaccine, Andy?
Well, I'm kind of in a desirable position in Canada where I don't have to choose, right? Because it's looking like there are other countries are going to get it before we do, right? Like they're looking almost towards the middle to the end of next year, right? Mm-hmm. So I got 6 months to watch you other fuckers and see what happens to me before I take it.
Thanks for the guinea pigs.
Yes, we are, because I tell you. I mean, but no, don't get worried about it. But black people, we're gonna be the first guinea pigs. We got to find out first. So they're gonna hit us first. We go first. We go first.
And it's funny you bring that up, because like for me, I'm watching this and they're saying people with allergies. I got a couple allergies. I got a couple things going on. So for me personally, I'm like so waiting. But we're actually having Dr. Dylan Burdett on Tuesday to answer all of these questions live for anybody who has them. And for those who aren't familiar with Dr. Dylan, he is with the Union of Concerned Scientists. He's testified before Congress numerous times. He's a virologist who is working on COVID and working with other scientists. So this is not an armchair quarterback or somebody who is a doctor of psychology. He is actually a real scientist working on this stuff, who's going to answer these questions for us. So I'm going to hold out judgment until after I get to talk to Dr. Dylan on that one. So that's Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
And that's very important. Like you can look at all of these conspiracy theories that are coming out and, about Bill Gates and reprogram the human genome. And quite honestly, when you start to understand exactly what these viruses are about and what science is capable of right now, right? It dispels a lot of these things that we're hearing. So it's always a good thing to research, right? If you're concerned about it, look it up. Ask science. Don't ask someone who's got an agenda, who's using it as a political football, right?
Or to profit from, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we're getting a little short on time. So I want to get to some of the fun headlines. And this one, I put this one in here because I feel like it is a super hot tip for people right now, especially those who are unemployed or whatever. This guy actually did this. This guy out of New York. It says, so here's the headline: unintended perk of the online mattress boom, the never-ending free trial. So what happened was this guy out of New York, it started sincerely. His name is Karan Burr, or Karan Burr. I'm mispronouncing that. He ordered one of those mattresses, like the Casper mattress, that gives you a free in-home trial for a certain period. And he was like, well, they were going to deliver it to me and I got to test it out. So they took my old mattress. I had this mattress and I had it for a long time. And when the trial period was ending, I had to make a decision. Did I want to buy it? Did I not? And I decided I didn't. So they came and picked up my mattress and I ordered one from another company. So this went on for years. This guy, it finally occurred to him, I can get a free bed forever. That's what he did. He went from one mattress company to the other mattress company. So a hot tip, if you're in need of a bed right now, there are companies out there who will give you a trial for 6 months to a year. So maybe that's worth it to you. So Darnell, your thoughts? Free stuff. Free beds in particular. Beds are not cheap.
Oh, let me tell you, ain't nothing like sleeping around. So
Context.
Yes, hey, the bed. I'm saying, get you another bed. I need a new one. I don't like the way they sleep, but anything given away for free is a blessing. I'm sorry. I heard a comedian say you found the wallet and the wallet had money in it and didn't have the cards in it, but the money was the blessing. But you make sure you get the person their cards back. So I'm just saying, you just take,
Wait, so if you find a wallet that's got somebody's driver's license in it and $50, the $50 is your tip? Is that
exactly. But I'm going to give you your wallet back. I found your wallet, Mr. Williams. But where the $50 at? What $50? I got you your wallet back.
The only time that I could see that this not working, right, is, and this is a financial aspect to this. If you don't trust banks, right, and you need a place to put your money, this doesn't work if you use your mattress.
No.
Right? Because first of all, you're opening it up, put your money in there, and then you run the risk of forgetting it's in there when you send it back. Right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It could come to bite you in the ass.
I'm not putting my money up under the mattress. At other places to put it, but I don't know. Because I'm not an angel. I did things in my life that I had no business. So when the police come on your house, that's the first thing they look at is up under the mattress.
Oh, yeah. So there was another headline I was going to use today, but I didn't. A gentleman was stashing away. He had just sold like an ATV, and he stashed the $20,000 in an old shoebox, thinking, well, I'm going to go and buy something else later, and wifey doesn't need to know about it, so I'm just going to put it in the shoebox in the garage. Wifey cleaned out the garage the next day.
Oh, threw the $20,000 out.
Yeah. I was like,
so you can only do stuff like that when you live by yourself. A bank robber robbed the bank, and his wife found the money because she was throwing stuff in the garbage. She was like, what is this bag sitting here? $150,000 she about to throw out.
There was a scene from Breaking Bad, which I'm still trying to get through. That's part of the Albuquerque initiation. I got to watch Breaking Bad. But there's a scene in there where he had stacks of cash put in the diaper box and almost got busted. So watch where you put your money. Don't put it under the mattress, especially if you got a free mattress on a trial. So, all right, here's the last story. And this one, Darnell, was in honor of your move to Florida. This is a Florida man story. And there were so many to choose from. So this is not necessarily the most bizarre, but I think the visual on this is just hilarious. So here's your headline. Florida man tries to evade arrest by cartwheeling away from police. Watch that phone. A Florida man was caught on camera trying to evade arrest by cartwheeling away from police. In now viral footage shows the gymnastics enthusiast blocking the path of a truck at Wawa in Orlando. I don't know what a Wawa is, but that's funny.
7-Eleven.
Okay, but so he was blocking traffic in a Wawa by doing a flip in the middle of the roadway. And when police finally apprehended him, he was trying to wiggle away and do cartwheels. So that's just inherently funny and inherently Florida. That's got to be the easiest headline you got.
Charlemagne, the guy from Hot 97, says the craziest people is from Florida. I forgot the other place, but yeah, and that's just so crazy. But the real question is, what gender was he? Not gender. What races was he? Was he white, black, or Spanish? You tell me. What you think he was?
I have no idea. Well, okay, so we have a little bit of, I don't know. It doesn't say. I don't know.
You don't have to. He's white.
What?
Andy, what you think he is?
Yeah, he's white.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only a white man could think that he could cartwheel away from the police. I can't even breathe too hard on the police. You think I'm trying to do a cartwheel?
The only thing that would have made that even better and actually probably allowed him to escape would have been if he'd taken his pants off.
Yeah, because ain't nobody tackling a naked man.
No, no, especially
you just beat the crowd when you got naked.
So we do have some comments come in from Facebook, and okay, so Mike says money in the mattress. Now, depending on the person, that is some dirty money. So nice one, Mike. Nice. And then Dave on YouTube says, you just got to launder your money. Right. Take the Biden approach.
Yes.
So, all right, then. And everybody is just popping up with the Florida man. Everybody loves Florida man. Yeah, it's a
States in
thing.
the world you're gonna see in Florida. I'm telling you.
I want to know if he landed the cartwheels okay, because like if you do a perfect cartwheel, you stay in the same plane. But if you change your feet position, that's actually a round off, right? And then
Exactly.
you lose points for that.
Somebody gonna hurt themselves.
I couldn't imagine me trying to do a cartwheel right now. I mean, when I was a kid, a little bit younger, yeah, but so.
I was going to ask you that too.
I had a great way to do cartwheel after cartwheel in completely perfect. What you do is you get a tractor tire, get inside it, and you roll it down the hill.
That's the Andy way. So my thing was, I had youth and vigor. Now I have age and treachery. I'm not running. We're gonna fight. That's what I got. So I will use a chair, whatever else. I'm going to fight because there's no way I'm running or cartwheeling. No way.
I ain't even thinking about it.
Nah. So, all right, we are almost at the top of the hour. Thank you for everyone who weighed in, and keep in with your comments. If you're watching this after the fact, hey, share it out. And like Darnell says, this is part of community. So keep weighing in with your comedy, smart remarks, all of this sort of thing. So before we get out of here, Darnell, take us into the rest of the Friday and the weekend. Where should we be? Where should our heads be at? What should we be doing to cultivate this positivity in ourselves and with each other?
Well, I tell my kids this all the time, and I'm going to preach this as much as I can on this show. All right, the only thing that you can't buy in life is time. I don't care how much money you got or what it is. So you can't buy time. So let's just embrace and enjoy time as much as you can. So if you got that child or you got that friend or you got that family member, you spend that time with them and embrace that. Because I tell you, tomorrow's not promised. I'm going to show you an example. I lost my mother and my brother within 15 months apart from cancer. And all I think about is the times I should have spent with them. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to do. I lost my nephew a year after that. I got a friend that just lost her daughter. It might be through Corona, whatever, but I'm just saying we just don't embrace our time. So, call somebody that you love. The next time you go out to somebody that you don't know, hug them. And like I said, communication go a long way. Talk to somebody that you wouldn't usually talk to because you never know what they're going through. And you might just save a life by having a conversation. And I just want us to do all of that through this weekend.
Awesome. All right, everybody, you got your homework. And in particular, that today is day 2 of Hanukkah. So whatever you celebrate, do it. And maybe you can't do your holiday traditions this year the way that you always did, but this year you make a special point of doing it. Like I do not have a house, but we are going to find a stocking and tape it up somewhere. So you've got to go through these things, whether it's Festivus, Hanukkah, all of these things, particularly with Hanukkah. If you're not familiar with Hanukkah is about and why it's called the Festival of Lights, research what those people were doing, why that oil lamp was so important. They were together. Solidarity in the face of this overwhelming odds. And they survived it together. So Darnell, thank you so much for joining us this morning, providing a little bit of levity and helping us remember what's really important. I think that's an amazing message.
Yes.
So Andy, you have anything to close out with, or your own sage advice?
I just, I think that, well, Christmas is always the same time every year, but it is very timely this year because everything that's happened in 2020 and with the election in the US and this fight for people trying to survive and how they think things are going to go, and the thought of this winter that's coming and how hard that's going to be on a lot of people in America. exactly what Darnell said. You need to reach out and make sure that you tell your family and your friends how much you care for them, what they mean to you, and make sure that they're in a good place going into this season, right? Christmas is such a special time of year for everybody. Well, it should be anyways. And we need that, especially right now, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's a very important thing. You might be stuck in your house for a little while, but there's a fence on either side of your property, and on the other side of those fences are human beings just like yourself. There's no reason why you can't talk to them over that fence and make sure they're okay. Because quite honestly, a lot of Americans are going to survive that way this winter. Yeah. Right? You have to reach out in your communities. And if you have help that you can give, that's going to go a long way to make sure that your community survives this winter and maybe gets us to a better place on the other side of it. That's about all I wanted to say.
The barter system. I think we need to get back to the barter system. Call a friend and say, listen, I got eggs. Do you got bread? I'm going to give you some eggs. Get some bread. I think we need to get back to that.
Oh, absolutely.
And if that doesn't work, go out and get weed.
Exactly.
And then everybody's your friend.
Everybody.
That's right.
I love everybody. I love you.
Right. Exactly.
It's a lot harder to get off your couch, but you're stuck in your house, so who the hell cares?
Right. So with that, we will get out of here. So there are a couple programs coming up that I really want to call your attention to tonight. We have KC InfoRail. This is a fast growing program out of Kansas City. And this is Seven Black Man. He goes by Seven, and his partner, and they have some excellent conversations, right? So some of it is focused around Kansas City, but totally applicable, and they want you to weigh in on that. And that's a call-in show. So make sure you stay tuned for that right here on DLF. We will be restreaming that for them. And then on Tuesday, as I mentioned earlier, we have the live program with Dr. Dylan Burdett, who's going to answer your questions and speak to the credible scientific information and data around the COVID vaccine that we see coming out, right? So this is a good, honest scientist who is working with the community, working on this particular effort, not somebody who's a third string armchair quarterback who just happened to watch a YouTube video. So that will be coming on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. And with that, we are going to get out of here, and we will be back bright and early on Monday. And I hope everybody has a good and safe weekend, and do your homework. Go talk to somebody, share some sense of community, and just be a good human being this weekend.
Andy, don't forget to put my thing up.
Oh, yeah, put the thing up, Andy.
I was already up, and I snuck it in there. I didn't get to see it.
Oh, I ain't get to see it, but go ahead. That's why you're the man, Andy.
That's right. I'm the producer guy now.
That's right.
Well, I wanted to say, Darnell, thanks so much for coming out here and spending an hour with us. You know, I got nothing but love for you, brother.
Watch the video. I got nothing. But I say this on my thing, right? I say this, son. If nobody told y'all today, I'm telling you I love y'all. Big D, Darnell Williams, I'm out.
All right. Thank you very much. And Kerri, you have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Absolutely.
Everybody, have a good weekend. Take care.
Take care.
We bout that, ayy. We in the zone. We out here, yeah. Speeding the facts, how it's supposed to be. Hair of the dog, we keep it neat G. Whoa, oh, oh.